are, you can make a positive impact on the world.
I would rather be illegally alive than legally dead.
And that quote helped to give you strength.
Nurse Heather is only on CannabisRadio.com.
Good morning, Cannabis Nurse Heather.
We're back to Hemp Present, only on Cannabis Radio. Now, back to our headstrong Emperor of Hemp, Vivian McPeak.
And we are back on Hemp Present on CannabisRadio.com, and we are talking to Nurse Heather from Good News with Nurse Heather on Cannabis Radio. And you're back and still coming down probably from the Las Vegas Hemp Fest. Give us a little bit of background, Heather. Tell us how you were inspired to be involved in the healthcare industry, and more specifically, how you became such a great advocate for cannabis as medicine.
Wow, that's quite a story, and it would take longer than 30 minutes, but I'll abridge it very quickly. Like you said, I'm from New Mexico, where I was trained and I learned from Native American healers and Hispanic curanderas, and I learned about plant medicine, and that was always really important to me and a part of my life forever. When I decided to go to nursing school, I saw it really in my frame of reference at that time. But later, when I was working with patients that are very ill, I found that cannabis use among those patients was really prevalent. And so I then came to learn that the state of New Mexico had a program through the Department of Health Services that allowed patients to have safe access to quality medicine. So then I started helping patients by saying, you're already sick, you're using this medicine, you might as well get on the program. And very quickly, I got a lot of cannabis patients out of that. And then they were looking to navigate the system that was the medical cannabis system in New Mexico at that time. And it was difficult. It was kind of underground. It was new, so it was hard. And I just helped patients. And that's really how I came to learn about it. At the same time, I had patients who were on oxygen, or they had lung issues, or they didn't need to be smoking because they were elderly and that was taboo, but they could use, say, a salve or an ointment or a tincture. So I went to these dispensaries and none of them were selling smokeless alternatives. So out of sheer need for the patients, and because I had all that knowledge about how to make herbal medicines, cannabis was easy for me to just create new products with. And so I was able to then create the first edibles and infusion programs or companies in the state of New Mexico, and went on to do that same thing in the state of Arizona. So that's kind of my background, always keeping the medicine and the science in the forefront of my mind. I'm kind of a research chaser, so I go to as many conferences as I can to learn from medical professionals and researchers and get that true hard science about the endocannabinoid system, what's going on with the receptors, what's happening with phytocannabinoids and endocannabinoids. And, you know, that's all important to me as a nurse. And we're seeing so many amazing results in our patients when we're able to get them on cannabis. And specifically in home health, I saw this. All of my patients that were using cannabis were able to reduce their opiate use by at least 50%. Many of them would get off of those opiates altogether. And what happened is a lot of those patients I was actually able to discharge from home health. And I learned that these opiates were keeping people homebound. They were, you know, it was just so amazing when you introduce the plant medicine and get off of the pharmaceuticals, what kind of well-being and life a person can have.
And what kind of
quality of life.
What kind of functionality people can regain, right?
Absolutely. It's all about quality of life. And as nurses, we're always looking for ways to help patients live a better quality of life. And so to us, cannabis is a tool to help our patients achieve relief from symptoms, to achieve well-being in their lives, and just to, you know, like I said, get off of pharmaceuticals that are potentially causing a lot of harm or adverse effects that are needless, quite frankly.
Heather, you're a board member of the American Cannabis Nurses Association. Tell us about the ACNA and what you all do.
Yeah, the ACNA is really interesting. We are an organization that is working toward legitimizing cannabis nursing as a specialty in the medical field, in the nursing field. And the way that we're going about this, it's very high level. As you can imagine, in medicine, there's lots of things that we have to do and hoops we need to jump through. But part of that is providing continued education to other nurses regarding the endocannabinoid system, cannabinoid therapeutics, and so forth. So that's what we do currently. We have the core curriculum for cannabis nurses that nurses can take and receive 6 credits toward their continued education, and it teaches them all the basics. We also have a 4-credit course called Advanced Curriculum, the Advanced Curriculum Beyond the Basics, and that goes more into detail about extractions and legal aspects and dosing and those kinds of things. So that's what we do. You know, as nurses, we're obviously advocates for our patients at all times. But with this particular organization, we're really a network. We're a place for nurses who are learning about the endocannabinoid system or have an understanding to further their knowledge and education and to go back wherever it is that they're working and to create change for patients that they are touching.
Heather, your current position as medical advisor for Sacred Garden requires you to stay up to date with all aspects of cannabinoid medicine, including standards, laws, research, trends, patient care services, everything. Are there any interesting trends or developments in cannabinoid medicine that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, there's so many interesting things. I mean, this is moving quick. Even just on the research side, we were at the Patients Out of Time conference in Florida back in May, and the main theme was cannabis and aging. And they were talking about how cannabis is so beneficial for all of the different aspects of aging and how the receptors are starting to change. And it really gave a lot of understanding to me why we're seeing such great benefit for our elderly. So, you know, I came away from there thinking, is cannabis really the fountain of youth? Is that what these researchers are saying to me? And, you know, we're finding it's maybe not that far, but heck yeah, it's going to help you age gracefully. That's one thing that we're looking at. And then also, you know, the rosin and the terpenes and this big push toward, you know, looking at full cannabinoid profile, including these different various types of terpenes and how they're beneficial for health and well-being as well. So yeah, there's lots of interesting trends going on out there that I'm keeping my ear to the ground.
Yeah, they've done amazing work in Israel with the elderly and cannabis and fighting Alzheimer's and other age-related diseases for many years. Somehow they seem to be ahead of us in that area.
You know, it was beautiful. The 2 nurses that, and I'm going to botch the name, I cannot even think of it, but the one that Meshulam works with, his 2 nurses were actually at this conference that I was at in Florida back in May, the Patients Out of Time conference. And it was really wonderful to spend time with those ladies because in Israel, it is a nurse-led program. These nurses are growing and providing, and it is such a cool thing that we've got that nice, tight international cannabis nurses bond going on.
Heather, you've worked with Hispanic and Native American communities in your home state of New Mexico. Do you feel that communities of color face additional challenges in relation to accessing and using medical marijuana?
You know, as far as accessing marijuana, I think that everybody has the same shot at being able to go and get a card and do it legal in their own state. You know, if you want to look at specifically with New Mexico, I would say the spiritual aspects and the cultural aspects. Hispanics have been using cannabis forever. I mean, you can talk to anybody in New Mexico who's Hispanic and has roots, and they'll say, oh yeah, grandma used to have that green alcohol. They would take leaves of cannabis, stick it in rubbing alcohol, and just leave it in there. And then grandma takes the alcohol and rubs it on her skin for her, you know, her aches and pains in her joints. This has been going on forever there. And I look at it as a right, as a cultural right, and just part of what they do with plant medicine and what we all do with plant medicine. I don't want to get too much into the, you know, the racial side of it, because we all know that people of color, specifically younger Black men, are completely stereotyped and you know,
Sure.
that whole thing. And to me,
they're dealing with additional stigmas that
Absolutely.
Caucasians don't necessarily need to deal with.
And, you know, as a little girl, I've been colorblind my entire life because I was raised around so much culture and color. My children are Native American. I mean, I am colorblind when it comes to that. I have no frame of reference or understanding for racism whatsoever. I don't get it. So,
Right on.
Maybe that's why I get along so well with my wonderful people in the U.S. Virgin Islands. They wanted me to come and stay forever, and I wanted to.
Yeah, to me, if you got a belly button, that's your membership button to my tribe,
That's it, baby. I'm the human race.
You bet. And, we've got so much similarities that you'd think that the skin color would just be like our hair color. And someday, maybe. You've got a show also on CannabisRadio.com, Good News with Nurse Heather. So what's it all about? What's that like?
Oh, my gosh, Vivian, you're doing your show and you're rocking it. I hear so many great things about it. I am just having fun. This is something that has been an idea of mine for several years to do a good news show. I hate watching the news because it just makes me depressed and sad. And I think there's good news in the world. Why are we always, harping on this negative stuff? So this idea of having a good news show has been with me for a few years. And when I had the opportunity with CannabisRadio.com to actually put it out there, I jumped on it with both feet and said, this is exactly what I want to do. So it is nothing like work. It is completely fun. And I just bring my friends on from the industry and we chat. We chat about what their good news is. I prep them by saying, this is good news. So just come with your good news. If there's something bad going on, you just leave it. It's only 30 minutes. You can get back to it later.
Yep. That is true. It is definitely, it's definitely pretty fun. I'm having a great time, man. And
Isn't
working
it
with
fun?
great. Yeah, it is. And we're working with great people. I got a little over 2 minutes before we got to go to a break. What is the core curriculum for cannabis nursing?
The core curriculum for cannabis nursing covers 12 different aspects. I'm not going to have them all memorized, but they include things like medical grade cannabis cultivation, methods of administration, legal aspects for nurses to be aware of, the harm reduction aspects of medical cannabis, the risk factors of medical cannabis. So we cover all these various things, that anything that a nurse would need to know to be up to par with working in that cannabis space with a patient who is using cannabis. They can intelligently communicate with that patient because they understand the endocannabinoid system and the plants themselves, as well as the products that are being provided out there in the industry.
Well, we are going to have to take another quick break, get a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back with more good news from Nurse Heather. So stick with us. We'll be right back with you.
Time to roll out for the people that let us hemp present. Hang loose. We're coming right back.
Your connection to quality cannabis insurance services is spelled Kaercher. That's Karcher Insurance. We have worked with ventures like cannabis for over 60 years. We're proud to represent over 50 companies with tailor-made cannabis plans for owners just like you to insure your product, your plants, and your pursuits. Kaercher spells out their full-service insurance services ranging from commercial to bonds to personal, from life to health, and more. Contact the team at KarcherInsurance.com and let our experience work for you. That's Kaercher Insurance.com.
Contact Karen and the team at Karcher Insurance at 1-844-421-3560. That's 844-421-3560.
MJWellness.com, the largest medical marijuana community in the world. Connect with thousands of patients, doctors, industry leaders, and businesses through shared personal experiences along our worldwide network. Discover new therapies and benefits with content tailored to you. Come grow your network on MJWellness.com. You're not alone. Your wellness matters. Learn, live, and thrive. Check out MJWellness.com today.
Cannabis Confidential with Dr. Dina. Candid.
I want to give you the inside story.
Captivating.
I want to introduce you to my kind and amazingly talented friends.
Compelling.
We get to meet some of the most amazing cannabis activists and warriors around.
Listen in as medical marijuana pioneer Dr. Dina shares never-before-heard stories, chats with cannabis insiders and celebrity friends, and provides invaluable perspective and insight into one of the fastest-growing industries in the world.
I want to share with you what was once confidential information. Let's expose the truth, discuss the issues, and learn the facts.
Cannabis Confidential, only on CannabisRadio.com.
We're back to Hemp Present, only on Cannabis Radio. Now, back to our headstrong Emperor of Hemp, Vivian McPeak.